It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at January 30th, 2009 with three movies. And, you know, sometimes in the month of January you get a classic movie, and our first movie here is definitely the definition of a classic movie, a movie that nobody really expected a whole lot of when it was coming out, but then when it came out, everyone was just like, holy crap, this movie is amazing. And that is Liam Neeson starring in the action thriller Taken. I mean, just those lines from Liam Neeson, like anybody else who tries to say that line in the way that he does in this movie, probably would get laughed at. But Liam Neeson just has that perfect voice for that speech he gives. You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are, but I have a very special set of skills. And like just the way he says it, just the way that voice comes out of him like that. It's one of the reasons why this movie is pretty damn awesome. You have Liam Neeson starring as Brian Mills, who's an ex-CIA officer set out to track his teenage daughter Kim, played by Maggie Grace, and her best friend Amanda after they'd been kidnapped by Albanian human traffickers while on vacation in France. Which one of the things I found kind of funny in this is that they have Maggie Grace playing a 17-year-old when she clearly is someone in her mid-20s. I mean, if I remember right, I think she was like 26 when this came out or something like that. Yeah, 26 when this movie came out. She was born in 83, so yeah, 2009, 83. Yeah, 26. But you really don't get. They do a pretty good job of like making it work. I mean, it kind of distracts you at first, but as the film goes along and you get invested in the storyline, I mean, it just works out very well. It's a really good movie where everybody plays their parts well to a T. Liam Neeson is awesome in this movie. A lot of people said this was a turning point in his career where he essentially became an action star with this film. And I mean, I don't know about that. Liam Neeson's starred in a lot of really good movies between Schindler's List and this movie. I mean, I don't want to say that this was like a movie that was coming after a bad stretch of movies, but no, he had a lot of good movies. Batman Begins, Aslan and the Chronicles of Narnia movies, Kingdom of Heaven, Kinsey, Love Actually, Gangs of New York. A lot of good movies with him in there. Although I will say that kind of after this movie came out and the Taken movies came out as a whole, everyone was trying to make the next Taken, and more times than not, they were not successful movies. Every once in a while, you get something good like The Gray or Nonstop, but yeah, most of the time it's just forgettable stuff like Unknown. There was enough, as in most of the movies he's done recently. In fact, right now he's in kind of a lull with movies that he kept making with Briarcliff Entertainment. But then you look at what just happened recently with the Naked Gun trailer coming out. I mean, I hope that's a movie that's a turnaround point. I hope it does for him what the first movie did for Leslie Nielsen with that, turning this dramatic star into more of a comedic star in general. Even though he was very much like that beforehand. I mean, the Lego Movie, A Million Ways to Die in the West, Ted 2. The guy is a great actor any way you look at it, but Taken is one of those movies where it's just like, it's a movie that seems very formulaic. It seems very much something that we've seen done to death before so many times, but what really makes it work is Liam Neeson just kicking ass in this movie. The action sequences are absolutely incredible. The tension is really good. I mean, everything about this movie just works so well, and it just plays very well in so many ways, shapes, and forms. It's no wonder why this thing became the huge, unexpected success that nobody was expecting it to, especially when you consider that it's opened up on a Super Bowl weekend. Super Bowl weekend was this weekend in particular, and I remember this because my Pittsburgh Steelers were playing in that Super Bowl and won a close game against the Arizona Cardinals. But the fact that this movie did as well as it did, I mean, it didn't just make its money back within the first weekend. It, like, stuck around. Like, it was a massive success. And it eventually led to a new franchise, which, unfortunately, nothing really has ever topped what this movie has done. This is a great movie. Should have just been a one-time thing because, man, they destroyed it with Taken's 2 and 3, man. But the original Taken is still a great movie, still a classic film. Liam Neeson is amazing in this. Just a good, fun action movie all across the board. What more can you got to say, man? Taken, excellent film. So let's go ahead and get to the movies you kind of expect to see on a Super Bowl weekend. Movies that the studios had no real faith in and said, well, let's put this out on this weekend. And then we can make the excuse of, oh, the Super Bowl was on Sunday and nobody was going to go to the movies. It's just like, no, you wanted to put this movie out there because you wanted to forget all about it, because you know how terrible it is. Case in point with our first film, The Uninvited. So we just had The Unborn. 10 years from now, we're going to have The Unholy. We had a movie called Undead. I mean, we're just going to find every word that starts with un and just put it as the name of a horror movie. When's the next horror movie that's going to be called The Uncircumcised coming out? Because you know that's the next logical direction we got to go with this. But no, this is The Uninvited, which, yeah, considering that The Unborn just came out 4 weeks before this, I'm sure people didn't get confused by the title of this when they were trying to see the movie. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody went to go see this garbage. After her ailing mother dies in a fire, teenage Anna, played by Emily Browning, attempts suicide and is sent to a mental institution for treatment. After 10 months, she still can't remember what happened the night her mother died, but her psychiatrist, Dr. Silberling, discharges her, telling her that she has resolved her issues. Her father, Stephen, played by David Strathairn, a successful author, brings her back to the isolated mansion near the coast, where she finds that her mother's former nurse, played by Elizabeth Banks, is now her stepmother. Gee, I wonder who did it. I mean, okay, let me finish this up here, but really, do you really need me to finish this? Anna is happier to see her beloved sister Alex, who is swimming in the sea. Alex and Anna decide to look for evidence to prove that Rachel murdered their mother and to investigate the fire in the boathouse. Her sister being played by Ariel Kebbel. And, but yeah, man, like I said, do you really think do I really need to explain why this movie didn't work? I mean, it's a story we've seen done to death before so many times. It's a movie that's clearly trying to be the next Ring. I mean, it's literally produced by the same people who did The Ring and Disturbia. And even the advertising campaign is so similar to The Ring. I mean, they even use the same font as The Ring in that trailer. It's just like, you're not being clever with this at all. And the thing is, there's a good movie in here. The cast is pretty good in here. You've got David Strathairn, Emily Browning, Ariel Kebbel, but really the big breakout of this movie is Elizabeth Banks. You forget that Elizabeth Banks is can not just be a really good comedic actress, but she has range. I mean, that's the one thing I give this movie credit for. I mean, she's given it her all in this movie, and you could tell that she took a lot of inspiration from Rebecca De Mornay's character in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Even though I didn't like that movie all that much, I will say she does a lot better job of being more threatening and menacing in this movie than Rebecca De Mornay did in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, at least in my opinion. But yeah, other than that, though, we've seen this story done before so many times, and it's yet another remake of a J-horror movie. Everyone's trying to copy the success of The Ring, so why not have the studio who made The Ring try to do it again? And yeah, it just didn't work because, yeah, it's a plot we've seen done to death before so many times, and sooner or later, you're just going to have to realize that The Ring was a once-in-a-lifetime moment where you're never going to be able to top what you were able to accomplish with that, and it kind of worked because there was a little bit of a time when we didn't get any more of these J-horror remakes. I mean, they tried to bring it back later on in the next decade, but never to the point where The Ring The Ring just blew the doors open for that, but this... yeah, it's about as bad as you can get. The only thing I'll say that's tolerable is the casting in here, especially Elizabeth Banks. But other than that, though, you have no reason to see this movie whatsoever. And you certainly have no reason to check out our last movie either, which, man, talk about a movie that feels way, way, way too dated. I mean, the next movie we have here is a film that I could not believe was made in 2009. This is a film that wouldn't have worked 10 years ago. This wouldn't have worked 20 years ago. Hell, this wouldn't even have worked 30 years ago from this point. New in town.
Comedy.
And that is every single joke in this goddamn movie. I'm not even kidding with you. The main crux of all the jokes and the humor in this is that, oh, this woman who's used to warm weather has to go to a place that's cold and go and work in a place that's cold. There's the comedy. Like I said, this movie wouldn't have worked 10 years ago, 20 years before, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years. Look, like, even in the 50s when movies like this were the norm, this would still seem so dated and so awful. This is a terrible movie. But anyway, Reese Witherspoon plays not Reese Witherspoon, Renee Zellweger. Sorry about that, but I get my names confused here. But Renee Zellweger plays a high-powered consultant in love with her upscale Miami, Florida lifestyle, who's sent to New Ulm, Minnesota, to oversee the restructuring of a blue-collar manufacturing plant. After enduring a frosty reception for the locals, icy roads, and freezing weather, she warms up to the small town charm and eventually finds herself being accepted by the community. When she's ordered to close down the plant and put the entire community out of work, she's forced to reconsider her goals and priorities and find a way to save the town. Gee, haven't heard that plot before, except in Gung Ho, Doc Hollywood, frickin' Cars. I mean, just why? Why was this movie made? And yeah, you thought that Bride Wars was the worst PG romantic comedy to come out in January 2009? Okay, technically it still is, but not even close to it still is. But this is right up there with how bad this is. Like, there's nothing about this movie that is clever. There's nothing about this movie that's charming. There's nothing about this movie that's funny. They waste a good cast in this movie. Harry Connick Jr. playing her love interest in here. I mean, this guy is a really good actor. Not only a great singer, but he's a great actor. J.K. Simmons is in this movie, and he's probably the only one who's given it his all in here. I mean, he actually gained 40 pounds to play the role he's in. Like, he wears a fat... Everyone thought that he was wearing a fat suit during this movie, but no, he gained 40 pounds for this movie. A noble cause by him, but I'm just thinking to myself, why did you waste your time on that with this movie? Nobody gave a crap about this movie. This thing just burned and just was dead at the box office almost immediately because we've seen the story done better in other movies. Like I said, the ones mentioned before. Like, even Cars did this much better, and it's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's just a waste of all this talent, and they spent all this money making it. I mean, granted, it was not a small budget, but even $8 million for a movie like this, I could make a movie like this much better for less than $8 million. At least the film I would have done would have been a little bit more different, more unique, something that completely wasn't just a ripoff of everything that had come before, every other comedy like this that was done before this. I mean, just this movie is inexcusably bad. This is one of those movies where it's just like, this should not have been released in theaters. This should have been one of those movies that I wish we would have had streaming services back then, because this is the thing that would have been perfect for streaming service. But no, this should have been something that should have been seen on Lifetime and not star an Academy Award winner in Renee Zellweger. This should have had somebody like, I don't know, Candace Cameron Bure or Melissa Joan Hart, whoever was starring in a lot of those Lifetime movies back then. Maybe not Meredith Baxter Birney, because she was getting a little old up there, but you get the idea here. This film was just... This was not good. This is the perfect definition of a movie that does not give a fuck about your intelligence and just want. It's like, here's the thing. A movie like this can work. It can work if you do, but you have to do something new and different with it. And they don't do that at all. It's everything you expect to see in a movie like this. The plot points, the twists and turns. You know, there's going to be a liar reveal. There's going to be a third act breakup. You know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. This movie is awful. This is up there with some of the worst movies of the year. I actually don't think I had this on my worst of the year list, but I'd have to double check again. But if it's not up there, it probably would have been. It's probably close. Probably my 11th or 12th worst movie on here. But yeah, it's a bad movie. It's a really, really bad film. Avoid New in Town like the plague. And so, with all that said, we're going to wrap up this edition of Time About the Movies, as we'll jump into February on the next episode, and 5 movies to look at. 4 of them are not that bad. Some of them are actually pretty damn good. We have the ensemble romantic comedy He's Just Not That Into You. We have Leica Animation making their big movie debut with Coraline. Steve Martin stars in the sequel to The Pink Panther 2. Chris Evans is among the cast in the movie Push. And we have Fanboys, which is a film that was supposed to be released in 2007, got pushed around on the schedule until it finally got released this weekend. And yeah, so a lot of good movies on this next show we're going to look at here. So definitely, we're heading out of the January doldrums and heading into to when we're getting the stuff that the studios really believe in. And as I always say, even when the movie isn't as good as they think it is, or it is, but at least the studios have more faith in them than the ones they had in January. But this first slate is not looking too bad, and we will definitely delve into those coming up tomorrow on the show. So definitely be on the lookout for that. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. So you actually got it that time. And hit that bell. You get updates on when new videos come out. And we do post new videos here every day. So with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.